even the LPs of the venture capitalists, has a lack of knowledge about quantum. They don't know uh, what is quantum computing, what this kind of technology could be um, impact in the future business environment.
Welcome to Impact Quantum.
Hello and welcome back to Impact Quantum, the podcast where we explore the emerging industry of quantum computing, where you don't need to be a PhD or have a PhD or even know anyone with a PhD in quantum physics. You just need to be curious. And with me is the most quantum curious person I know, Candace Kahuli. How's it going, Candace?
It's great. Thank you for asking. Today, all the way from Argentina, we are speaking to Daniel Ruiz. He is the founder of QNow. Hi, Daniel. How are you today?
Hello,
Very
Candace.
cool.
Hello, Frank. Thanks
Oh,
for having me. Thanks for the invitation. I'm good now, and happy to stay here and have a great conversation.
cool.
Wonderful.
So Argentina, when Candace was doing a lot of the research for our global reports, Argentina was a surprise, as was a lot of the tech scene in quantum tech scene in Latin America, uh, which is further along, I think, than people think. When people think quantum, I think there's always this bias of U.S., China, maybe the EU. Um, but what was their score, Candace? I got to pull up the site. Their
Oh,
score
pull
was
it up
like
and check it out. They're doing surprisingly very exciting what's going on in
it
Argentina
was
right now.
something like third or fourth place, like behind like only the U.S., China, and Canada.
Right.
Um, let's see. Argentina has an index of 3 in the and they have an active roadmap for 2030. So
Oh,
That's
if you
cool.
look at Latin America, I think there's enormous opportunity. And in my day job, I've seen that, right, in terms of AI, right? Like there's a lot of AI going on there. Um, you have an interesting situation where in Latin America, you have somewhere between 30 to 40 different sovereign countries, right? There's only hyperscalers in 3 or 4 of them. So there's a lot of opportunity, I think, in terms of research and on-prem and kind of work. So, so what's going on? What's the quantum scene look like in Argentina?
yeah.
Yes,
Tell us a
yes.
little bit about your journey. We're really excited.
Okay, okay, cool. Let's start. Well, my background is very technical. I'm specialized in software development. At the same time, when I um, was knowing about more, emerging technologies around 2019, I met quantum computing. So from since 2019, I was in this journey, learning every day learning about quantum stuff, and at the same time working with partners and with scientific and research teams that allow us to have a very picture and an overview of who is the landscape here in Latam. Yes. Um, from that, I could say that here in Latam, we have specifically in Argentina, we have a lot of talented people. Starting with the talented people, and even the capacity to create qubits here in Bariloche has a lab team, a government lab team that has created qubits. Yes, not a quantum machine like that, but creating and stabilizing qubits. Yes. Um, from that and from the capacity of create software, quantum software, I would say that in Latin America there is the opportunity to export these kind of capacities, yes, from the hardware and including to the software. What kind of software? I could say that specifically in applications, yes. That is what we're doing right now in QNow. We have two lead industries that we are interested to. One industry is the financial sector, and the other industry is the healthcare sector.
Okay.
Um, so I could say that that is the opportunity. Maybe creating hardware, maybe creating the QPUs. Maybe LATAM is very, you know, is not. m- Maybe I could say that LATAM is or could be great, not at hardware, but at application level, could be better or could be have these kind of opportunities.
So you said you were involved in both financial and in the health sector. Okay, so which one do you think is going to develop first?
Okay, I here in Latam, I have the opportunity to talk with all leaders in banking, leaders of business in financial sector. Yes, they have the resources to sponsor a research. They have the resources and the knowledge, um, and and all they need to start getting involved now with quantum technologies. Yes, but at the same time there are some grade of literacy. There are a lack of knowledge in this kind of technologies, um, i- in, because they don't know where implement quantum technologies. They don't know how is the return of inversion applying these kind of technologies. So I would say that this sector could be the first one that implement these kind of technologies, but at the same time m- must be the first one that get involved in the knowledge of these kind of technologies. Yes. Specifically, we have a partner called Falcondale. Yes. Our partner is especially focused on credit risk scoring. Yes, that could be helpful in the financial sector, applying different kinds of classification models to know who pays the credits and who probably not pays the credit. Yes. So if you asking for me, I could say that the financial sector will be the first one to apply. At the same time, here in Latin America, the healthcare sector, specifically in the drug discovery, drug design process, there are no investigations, or there are not a lot of investigations here from Latam. All the investigations are in Sweden, in Basel, uh, but here the local people, the local resources that has this kind of research is very poor. Yes. Um, so I could say that the healthcare sector could be the second one. Yes, but there is my projection, my perspective. But I could say that if the academic sector and as you now, the company sector, the private sector could join the forces and start to create researching and start to create or propose new techniques, new ways to solve the industry problems, could be a great opportunity that uh, a greatest companies in the healthcare and finance start to see the work and start to implement this kind of of data pipelines, of quantum machine learning models, this kind of technologies in in their operations. Yes.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense.
So from QNow, we are doing that. We are trying to uh, generate some value, generate genuine value, real value to this kind of industries. Yes, starting like I said before, with credit score and the drug design or drug discovery process.
Okay. So does your solutions, do your solutions involve as well using AI?
Exactly. We can describe QNow as a company that solves problem for automate and create autonomous system for autonomous task. But what is the principle of that? We have created a technique based in knowledge graphs that allows to today LLM models generate a kind of a fact, a kind of a knowledge or a kind of memory. I mean that allows create this kind of a automated process. Particularly, we have we are a 100% bootstrapped company. Yes, you know, don't have at the moment investment. We are 100% bootstrapped, and for make us traction and generate some revenue, we have find a niche. We have find a problem in the financial sector in which in what we have solving through a classical AI. Yes, we have created a classical product, a classical problem solving that allow us traction to to quantum stuff. So if you ask me if we have some AI in QNAP, of course through these kind of products that prepare from now the data of the organization, the data of our clients of our future clients to in a near future um, add quantum value, add real value, preparing the data from today. Yes, I could say that.
Okay.
Interesting. So what is the startup scene like in Argentina, right? Like you're completely bootstrapped, which good on you because you have a lot of control. Did you what does the startup scene look like? Are there a lot of bootstrap startups or is there a heavy venture presence? I know with quantum on a previous show we talked about how national governments are getting involved in the quantum conversation largely for national security reasons. But like, is there any kind of government assistance, funding, incubators, that sort of thing?
Okay, well, today the picture of today is that even the LPs of the venture capitalists, has a lack of knowledge about quantum. They don't know uh, what is quantum computing, what this kind of technology could be um, impact in the future business environment. So
Hmm.
I could say that today in Argentina, maybe there are a couple of companies or startup that have the claim that they have the quantum flag, the quantum technologies flag. But I don't really, I don't know how much investment or how much the private sector will be available to start promoting these technologies. I know there are some companies that are looking for investment, uh, paying some press release and all that kind of stuff just for attract inversion. But here in QNow, we are mm, we adopt the way to create a genuine value, yes, um, through through clients, not but at the same time, in a near term, create this kind of conversation with the government when we have a strong basis to demonstrate that the quantum industry or demonstrate the quantum solving problem will be interesting for at least for these industries, healthcare and finance. Um, at the same time, the government there is there has they has some resources, but in the AI sector, at the quantum level, there are not a lot of resources, even if in the company sector, even in in the startup sector. Yes, at this level, I could say that only in AI there are more things that quantum even.
Interesting.
So for the kids that are in school right now, do you see the young researchers in Argentina wanting to stay and build maybe their own companies locally, or do you think they feel that they need to leave in order to properly scale?
Okay, that's a great question, because here in Argentina, the ecosystem is very entrepreneurial. Yes, there are a lot of um, big ideas and a lot of good things in the air, because by culture, the Argentinian people is in that way. Yes, it's very. I can do the best. I'm the best. Yes, that's a cultural point that I could say here. So recently we have collaborate with IBM with Kiskit Fall Festival. That is a worldwide event that pass through a lot of countries, and particularly the Kiskit Fall Festival that was here in Argentina. Um, Let us say that is the way that you mentioned, Candence. There's a lot of ideas. There is a lot of young people getting involved now with this kind of events that has the vision to create their own companies, to start involving uh, and create their own research in quantum technologies. So there's a lot of to do right now in Argentina, and I can see that the young people, is very getting involved in that kind of technologies.
Hmm.
Interesting.
I don't know if you have you come to here in Argentina.
I would love to. I would love to go to Argentina.
Yeah, I'd come in a second.
Because it's summer there now, right? It's summer there now, so that helps.
It is a
I
beautiful place.
also, it's beautiful. The food, I hear the coffee is really good. I hear the steak is really good. So yeah.
Yes, yes,
So
the coffee, the Colombian coffee is good.
is
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
So what skills would you say Argentine quantum professionals bring that global companies sometimes underestimate?
Mm, maybe okay. Maybe I could say that the opportunities to create research, basic research, um, is the one thing that maybe the companies don't know, or has don't has the knowledge that here in Latin America and here in Argentina do. Um, I could see that all the research things could be the very underestimate things here in Latam, because there are a lot of talented people. There are a lot of private and public organizations that had a good material, that has good researchers. Yes. Um, Maybe I could say that the last 2 years, at the academic level, it starts to create the first quantum congress at local level. Yes,
Okay.
we have the opportunity to, as AcuNow, participate in this first congress, and I see that. I see that there is a lot of great things, but you know, AWS or Rigetti or even IBM, they don't know how are the things here in Latin America. I could say that they must start getting involved here in Latin America. Like I said before, maybe not at hardware level, um, or maybe yes, but at applications level, at application layers, could be the best thing that from outside organizations could be start to create create that link, for start creating and prepare applications that solve real problems.
Okay.
No, I mean, it's interesting because I think there's a certain bias in the tech industry to assume that it's either North America or Asia, right? And they're forgetting, there's a joke about, you know, U.S. innovates, China imitates, and Europe regulates, but they're forgetting like one other player.
Okay.
And these are pretty sizable economies, right? Like people, I mean, like I've been a big fan of since joining Red Hat. Well, a lot of our successes have been actually in Latin America with our product, and it's just like, this is a big market, and when you consider kind of just the sheer number of people, the sheer number of the demographics, like it's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure. Whether that'll be in 5 years or 10 years, but I mean the fact that there's so much quantum innovation happening, I think is a good sign. And I know some of it's quasi government, some of it's not. Like it's an interesting face. But one of the things that came up in a lot of Candace's research, I'll let her talk to it because she did the research, was the concern about brain drain, and she did kind of
Mm.
allude to that, right? Because that's a problem globally, right? And that's a concern in the U.S. It's a concern in China. The idea that I'm going to educate all these kids on the latest and greatest, and they're going to go to California or Beijing or, um, or wherever, Shenzhen or whatever. Like, is that a problem in Argentina?
Yes, I could say that. Yes,
Mm,
is the same thing. Is the same thing. Like you said before, even the governments, even here, or the economic situations, just the last 2 years, the economy has a big change here in Argentina, with a lot of new laws, a lot of new opportunities to from outside Argentina invest here in Argentina. So has maybe play uh, to a favor to Argentina to start changing that point. Yes. Um, because maybe we are incorporated in the US, in Delaware. Yes, but we operate here in Argentina. Could be ideal that people like us that has to create their own business, start here and incorporate here in Argentina. But the taxes, all the
right.
barriers that we have as an entrepreneur, um, let us create some strategies to uh, do the things in other ways. Yes. um, but is the same problem globally. I think that.
So you talked about the barriers. And, I'm assuming the biggest challenges might be funding or infrastructure or even market access. Are there other types of barriers that you're finding that the startups are facing in Argentina?
Yes, I think that is a blend of these issues, the investment and the access to the markets. Yes, because it's not the same, or well, it's not the same, the Brazilian market against the Argentinian market. There is a lot of difference between that countries. Um, but in Brazil, that is South America. Brazil has a other ecosystem more evolved than the Argentinian. Yes, in Brazil there are a lot of investment, a lot of other status of the quantum technologies, I could say. But here in Argentina, that's a point. There are the barriers to start create value from here. Yes, the investment and um, the market access. So for that reason, we at QNow have to create that kind of conversations with the business leaders to to start create from now this interest in the quantum technologies. Yes, not only for investment, no, but even for create quantum strategies. Yes,
Mhm.
doing a kind of a consulting services. You know, that allow to the big enterprises or big corporations here in Argentina know more about quantum technologies. Yes.
Right.
I
Interesting.
assume I assume that must really kind of force you to be more creative, and to be to to realistically create quantum applications because of the constraints that you face. I just was
Yes.
thinking, yeah.
Yes. Yes. That this is the reason that we we choose as a research topic all the drug discovery and drug design process to apply quantum technologies. Specifically, we have a development a QSAR method. That QSAR method is a kind of a classifier, yes, to determine which compound is better than other, taking in mind even the toxicity of a compound, taking in mind the ATME, um, the process to know how solving via oral a medication could be absorbed by our bodies. You know, um, so for that reason, we create a or we choose to develop this kind of process implementing quantum stuff. You know, that was the opportunity, that was the creativity that has in that time our team to determining which line of research we should do, and betting into the future that it could be a good problem to solve in the industry, and has a a very opportunity to create value and business through that. Yes.
Hmm. So if we were to look at take the next decade, what would need to change in Argentina to become a serious quantum startup hub?
Okay, I think that um, could be a must. Yes, that the outside venture capitalists or outside early adopters of quantum come here and start to see all the scene, see all the research that this big country has to demonstrate. Yes, um, because maybe in the coming 10 years, um, could be appear a lot of unicorns. I don't know, maybe you know, or maybe a good um, companies that has a very early break points to start be profit. You know, without investing, just through the real value through clients. Yes, maybe it could be that scenarios. Um, but I think that there's a lot of to create from here and to demonstrate to the outside of Argentina that what we are capable of what, no. Mm, but I think that from the company that all the companies that outside Argentina already has a path, already has a very strong roadmaps, already has a lot of research, could a could do a kind of knowledge transfer from here, to Latam, yes, and start to create this kind of conversation from South America to North America, or from here to Europe, yes.
So what's one misconception about quantum computing that you wish more people would just drop?
Maybe is the that is in a certain point very technical. Yes, maybe becomes the conversation very technical. Because if 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 you don't have a knowledge about data, maybe when you try to create an ansatz to a Hamiltonian, or maybe when you try to create um, a fermionic Hamiltonian, that is very technical terms. Yes, um, maybe the people who could feel that is not very understanding of the topic. So maybe the technicism could be the big barrier to drop this kind of the technology, this kind of topic. you know. But at the same time, I think that through the technology, through the knowledge graphs, to the LLMs application that we have today, we have the way to cut that learning curve, that learning that barrier, adopting this kind of AI system, but based in a validated knowledge and a great quality of knowledge. Maybe could be a way to solve that barrier.
Yeah. So when you talk to customers or prospective customers, like what's their reaction when you say quantum?
Okay, maybe some clients has the sensation, has the feeling of wow, it is NASA, is
Right, right, right.
yes, but when when we try to create to start this kind of conversation, we we always transmit to our potential clients that all becomes from data. Yes, all becomes from data, and we can add value, real value, to applying quantum technologies, quantum algorithms, solving that problem. Yes. So when we start this kind of conversations, we we try to do in a very detailed way. Yes, to know, no, not sending, not selling smoke. Don't enter in the hype. So for that reason, we choose that when we talk with this kind of potential clients, uh, at the first step, we have to find the way that understood that the classical is a complement, the quantum is a complement of the classical. Yes, and how the quantum stuff could potentially, you know, exploiting the classical ways that they have today. Making some benchmarks between the classical models and the quantum, or hybrid models, in a certain pipeline, in a certain, um, process of this organization, or these potential clients. So maybe the conversation we turn in that way.
That makes sense.
So what does success look like for you right now
Uh,
when you're working on something like a case study? Is it Not in theory, but in actual practice. What does success look like?
I think that maybe if potentially in health, yes, specifically in healthcare, maybe we can talk about success when we perform a metric, when we perform something related with resources, yes, with money, with time. We can say that that kind of problem solving is success. Yes, I think in that way. So for that reason, I could say that only if you move the needle in the path, um, in the right way, you your project, your stuff has a succeed. Yes, has a success. At the same time, if no has success, it's great. It's fine because that is knowledge that keep with us. But in the very strict level, I could say that the success if is only success when you has the capacity to add value that evolve in ROI for our organization, in reducing time and resources. I think in that way.
Interesting. I'm fascinated to see kind of like what startup ecosystems look around the world, right? Because I think there's an assumption that even within the United States, honestly, there's an assumption that if you want to start up, you have to go to Silicon Valley, right? Now, obviously, there are probably good reasons to go to Silicon Valley, but you have a number of one of my jobs not that long ago was working in what we call civic technology, which is the idea of working with local city leaders across a bunch of cities around the U.S., right? And each one of them wants to be the next Silicon Valley. Right? Each one of them wants to be like DC certainly had that. New York. Well, New York is Silicon Valley. New York is kind of different, but every city I spoke to, whether it was Detroit, whether it was Chicago, they all want to have their own Silicon Valley type setup. And one of the best bits of advice that I would tell them is like, don't be the next Silicon Valley. Be the next, be the best version of you that's focused for the future, right? So like, obviously I live in the DC area, right? A lot of government adjacent, highly regulated industries, right? There's a good opportunity if you're a startup to be in that field, right? Like the startup mentality doesn't have to be just around tech. Tech is going to be part of it because tech is going to be part of everything, right? So the whole idea, and quantum tech, I think, is also following a very similar trajectory in that regard. And it's I just fascinated about kind of like what that looks like. And not every culture, I know Argentina might be different. Not every culture values entrepreneurship. That's one thing I kind of learned when I lived overseas, was kind of like, people look at it kind of with suspicions. People look at it like this. I think Argentina shares the American cowboy culture, although you guys call them the gauchos. Um,
Gotcha.
where you have that kind of rugged individualism, which I think does fit nicely with entrepreneurship. Is that true? Is that like a thing? Like the entrepreneurial spirit in Argentina?
Yes, I totally agree with that. It's the same. It's the same spirit. It's the same feeling.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm from Colombia. Yes, I'm from
Okay.
Colombia, but I living here in Argentina more
That's why
than
you like the Colombian coffee, because I mean,
that.
don't get me wrong, it is great coffee, like for real, it is great coffee. But like,
No, but he made a point of that in the green
yeah, I
room
was
to
like, he
talk
kind of
about it. And I was like,
oversold.
oh,
He kind of oversold
now,
more than the average, more than I would
yeah.
expect from the average Argentinian.
So there you go. Okay.
Yes. That's the reason for the Colombian coffee, and I have been here in Argentina more than 10 years ago. Yes, and I'm from outside of Argentina. I could see and I can feel this kind of sensations. You know, is cultural that the gauchos do say a barbecue with only
Hmm.
a piece of iron and
Yep.
maybe cool the fire with two pieces of grass, that kind of spirit that invite us in a way to um, you know breaking that barriers that
Right.
uh, don't allow you do things. Yes, I think that this spirit is very interesting in that country, in this country. Yes, and maybe it's not the same feeling in all the Latin America's countries. It's very different, the culture and this kind of stuff. Yes. um, I don't know. At the same time, I love the skateboarding culture, um, uh, and the skateboarding culture learns that to me, that if you want to do a trick in your skateboard, you have to try, try falling, then try until the trick has in the right way that you visualize in your brain. So it's very interesting, this kind of feelings uh, that allow us to create things, to create companies, to create applications, to create things.
So, as a founder, what's a hard lesson you've learned that you wish more quantum founders would talk about openly?
Um, okay, I could say that maybe the the way in what we we try to do things. Yes, I could say that maybe if we choose to be 100% bootstrapping or be 100% VC funded, this kind of stuff i- is the more decision things that allow us to start getting involved in the world of entrepreneurial. Yes. um I don't know if that answered your question, or maybe could repeat the question.
No, I mean, I just want to know about difficult lesson learned. I mean, obviously it's hard being a founder, and I'm sure it's very difficult in the quantum space, even more so. And like we talked about before, not everything is as open source and open knowledge as it could be. So I just wondered if there was something that you felt you wished more founders would talk about openly.
Yes, yes. Well, this is a few founders here regarding the quantum technologies. Yes. Um, see, maybe I could add to this thinking, that maybe the compute resources. I don't know if you know that here in Latin America we can access directly from the waves hardware. You know, maybe these kind of barriers um, could be a very a, a kind of barrier to start creating things, or to start to use the real world tools that are out there. Yes. This kind of example, I could say that would be a big barrier f- for us as a founder, and for all the quantum founders that live here in this country, or living in Latin America. Yes. Um, I could say that.
Interesting. Interesting. I think it's interesting how we yeah, I think it's interesting to see how the startup entrepreneurial culture changes from location to location. even within the U.S., right? Like, Candace and I both grew up more or less the same time frame in more or less the same city,
Hmm.
in New York, right? It wasn't always, at least for me, the pressure was always to get a job at a bank, right? Even if it was in tech, right? Like you want to work at a bank, right? And the whole idea of working and starting your own company just seemed very, I wouldn't say, yeah, it was kind of frowned upon. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Is
it
that a good way
really,
to put it?
yeah, yeah, it was. It absolutely was. But then something happened. Like I can say when I came to Montreal in 2010, the biggest thing I noticed about Canadians was that every family I met, one person was an entrepreneur, one parent, and the other parent worked for a company. But that's also because we have some other safety nets here in Canada. But
Right.
entrepreneurship was considered, not like a luxury, but almost like a necessity for future happiness for people.
That is
So,
interesting because the French Canadian part of my family, there actually is one branch of the family, um, actually did start their own engineering firm, and they're doing real well for themselves, last I heard. He lived in
and
Colombia for a while, actually. One of my cousins. He was I think he ended up going to Venezuela, then Colombia, because he was worked in the petroleum industry.
Ah, okay.
So
Okay.
kind of like doing engineering consulting. So, you know, that's how I know about Colombian coffee and stuff like that. And
so
how
let me ask you
each
this.
Latin American country is very proud of their coffee culture. Sorry, Candace, I cut you
No,
off.
no, let me ask you this. So how do you keep motivated? Because, quantum can go slow,
Yes.
right? And it's hard sometimes. The timelines are long, and sometimes results aren't as visible as you want them to be. So how do you keep up momentum? How do you stay motivated?
Okay. Okay. Cool. I could say that my team, with a right team, you can affront a lot of barriers in that way. Yes. Through these last 2 years that I'm become an entrepreneur, I was be with a lot of people that um, I would think that was the dream thing, the dream team. Yes, but through the years, the real life showed me that not all the people has the spirit to create from scratch this kind of companies. Yes, not for all. It's not for all, but at the same time, I think that the same life, uh, having me to the way that right now I have, or I feel that I have the right team. Yes, we have four founders, and at this moment we have passed through a lot of obstacles that you can imagine, and that is one thing that keeping me motivated to keep creating, to keep investigating, to keep researching, to keep start to to get grants for computing time, to this to create some partnerships with uh, for consulting services with one team, for research with one team. That is my fuel to not give up, and keep going and going until we have arrived to our goal. I could say that is the team, is your team.
I'm
Yeah.
excited, Candace. You know why? Because we talk to Europeans, we talk to Canadians, we talk to Americans. We don't think we've talked to the Chinese, anyone in kind of the Asian side of quantum yet. I think mostly that's
No, but
because of time zone issues.
timing.
But like it's cool because like I want to spotlight kind of like I know from my experience at Red Hat, I know like the tech scene in Latin America, Argentina, and in particular,
Right.
Argentina and Brazil are the two ones I'm most familiar with. They're really sophisticated. I've had some customer calls with those folks, and it's like, wow, these guys
Yeah.
are really like on top of their game.
It
you
makes me
know?
want to redo a couple of, which this will probably come out before, or maybe this other thing will come out before, but I want to redo a couple of the country reports because there
Yeah.
are certain countries that have exploded in the past 6 months, since I did the reports initially in May. And so I would really, Argentina is definitely one of them that I want to explore and investigate. So Daniel, thank you so much for
Yeah,
representing
definitely.
and sharing what's going on with Q now. And keep in touch with us. We'd love to hear more, and to hear how everything is progressing.
Quantum podcast, turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it's gold. The multiverse is skanking in time. Black holes are wailing in a horn line so fine. From Planck scales to planets, they're connecting the dots. Candace and Frank, they're the cosmic hot shot. Quantum podcast, turn it up fast. Candace and Frank blowing my mind at last. Quantum podcast, they're breaking the mold. Science and sky beats, it's bold and it's gold.